In the heart of Umonachi, a forgotten village where the wind carried dust instead of hope and red sand stained everything it touched, lived a girl named Stella. She was just 21, but her eyes spoke the language of sorrow far older than her years. Since her mother's death 6 years ago, life had shown her no kindness. Her father, Mr. Ikenna, once a gentle farmer with sun-warmed laughter, had crumbled into bitterness and booze. And to make things worse, he brought a woman into their home, Margaret, a sharp-tongued widow with no love for anyone but herself. To Stella, home became a prison. She swept the compound, fetched heavy firewood from the forest, cooked endless meals, and toiled on the farm. Yet, every night, she went to bed with an empty stomach and bruised heart. The villagers pitied her, yes, but no one dared interfere. Mr. Ikenna's temper was legend. Then came Francis. He wasn't from Umonachi. His shoes were torn and his shirts clung to his body from days of labor. Yet, there was something different about him. His eyes didn't avoid pain. They acknowledged it. For 2 whole months, he had worked on Mr. Ikenna's farm, clearing thickets, planting crops, hauling sacks of cassava, but not a single coin touched his hand. Tomorrow, next market day, Mr. Ikenna always said. One blistering afternoon, Francis returned from the farm, dust clinging to his skin. "Sir, I need my money," he said, voice firm but respectful. Mr. Ikenna squinted, scratching his belly. His eyes headed towards Stella, who was bent over a basin of clothes nearby. Then, with a dry laugh, he pointed at her. "You want payments? Take her." Francis blinked. "Excuse me, sir. She's useless here. Let her follow you. That's your payment." Stella froze. The wet clothes slipped from her fingers. "Daddy, please," she whispered. "Quiet," he roared. "You should be grateful someone wants you." Margaret cackled from her seat, arms folded in curious satisfaction. "One less spot to scrap," she muttered. Tears spilled down Stella's face as she knelt. No one moved. No one spoke. Only Dan, her little half-brother, peeked from behind the house, his tiny face wiping his eyes. Francis stared at her for a long time. Despite her dirt-streaked skin and sunburnt cheeks, something in her eyes struck him. Grace and quiet beauty. He turned to Mr. Ikenna and said, "I'll take her." No ceremony, no farewell, just a black nylon bag filled with worn clothes and a trail of dust left behind as they walked away. Stella didn't look back. Her heart was too heavy. The journey to the city felt like a dream she wasn't part of. She sat by the bus window, watching trees blow past. Francis didn't talk much, but occasionally, he'd glance at her and sigh. Maybe he was wondering what to do with her. Maybe he saw himself in her. When they arrived, the city overwhelmed her. So many people, honking cars, giant buildings reaching the sky. She clenched her bag tighter, trying not to tremble. A short recycle ride later. Then, they arrived at a quiet street. At the end stood a large black gate. Francis knocked. Moments later, it opened. What Stella saw stunned her. The compound was wide and spotless. A white house with large windows sat proudly in the middle, surrounded by flowers and a small fountain. But Francis didn't lead her there. Instead, he took her to a small neat building behind the house. "This is where I stay," he said with a smile. "I just got a job as a security guard. The woman who owns this place is kind. She lets me live here." Stella looked around the one-bedroom flat. It was small but clean and quiet. The roof didn't leak. There were even a soft bed with clean sheets. It was heaven compared to the mat she slept on in the kitchen. "If this is where God wants me now," she whispered, "then I will stay." Francis glared at her. "Are you okay with this?" She nodded. "Yes, I feel peace for the first time in a long while." The next morning, she woke up to the smell of something frying. You see, the sun was peeking through the curtains. For the first time in years, she had slept without fear. In the kitchen, Francis was creaking eggs. "Good morning," she said softly. He turned and smiled. "Morning, Stella. Breakfast is ready." After the meal, Francis asked her to get dressed. "There is someone I want you to meet." She wore a simple gown he had bought for her and brushed her hair, heart racing. They walked to the main house and knocked. A tall woman in her late 50s opened the door, graceful, warm-eyed. "Good morning, ma," Francis greeted. "This is Stella." Mrs. Daniels looked at Stella, then smiled. "So you're the young lady he spoke about. You're lovely. Do come in, please." Stella stepped inside, eyes wide at the marble floors and glittering chandeliers. Mrs. Daniels held her hand gently. "You're welcome here, Stella. You have a peaceful spirit. I can feel it." "Thank you, ma," she replied shyly. "You can call me Mrs. Daniels. If you need anything, just ask." Stella nodded, heart slowly untying from years of knots. They returned to the boys' quarters, and as Stella sat quietly on a small sofa, her mind wandered. For the first time, Hope didn't feel like a stranger. That evening, after tidying the small kitchen and folding the last piece of clothing, Stella sat quietly at the edge of the bed, her mind swimming with thoughts. The soft humming of the ceiling fan barely covered the creaking sound of Francis kneeling beside the wardrobe, tightening a loose handle with a rusty screwdriver. "Francis," she called gently, almost like a whisper. "Yes?" He looked up, brushing a bit of sweat from his forehead. "Can I tell you something?" she asked. Her fingers never slipped playing with the hem of her dress. He dropped the tool and gave her his full attention. "Of course. What's on your mind?" She signed, her voice low and steady. "The day my father asked me to live with you, I felt like a piece of old cloth he was eager to throw away. I didn't feel like someone worth keeping. I felt discarded." She blinked fast, trying to keep the tears from falling. Francis moved closer, his eyes soft and kind. "I thought you'd be like him," she continued. "That once we reach the city, you will shout at me, order me around, or worse, treat me like a burden. But you didn't." Her voice crackled slightly. "You gave me space. You let me breathe. You made me feel safe, like I was human again." Francis sat on the bed beside her, slowly taking her hand into his. His palm was warm and steady. "I could never hurt you, Stella," he said quietly. "That's not who I am. And it's not the kind of man I ever want to be." There was a short silence. Then he smiled faintly. "Can I tell you something too?" She nodded, curious. "The very first time I saw you on the farm," he said, "you were standing by the cassava stalks, tying a bundle of firewood. You looked tired, but even then, there was something about you, something strong. I wanted to talk to you that day, but I didn't have the courage. I didn't think someone like me had the right to." Stella glanced at him, surprised. "I knew your father would never approve. I had nothing, no money, no family name, not even paper shoes. But when he said I could take you as payment, I was shocked and honestly angry. But at the same time, something in my heart whispered, this is your chance. Not because I saw you as something to own, but because I knew you deserved better than that house. You deserved a new story." Stella looked down at their joined hands. "I don't love you yet, Francis," she said softly. He nodded immediately. "I understand. And I'm not expecting that from you. Not now. Not until your heart is ready. I just want you to know that here, you matter. I see you." A tiny smile broke across her face. "I don't feel like a mistake anymore," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You treat me like I'm important. Like I'm a queen." Francis grinned. "That's because you are. A queen who's been hidden in the wrong palace." She chuckled, wiping a tear from the corner of her eye. In that small room, with old walls and a worn-out bed, something fragile, yet powerful, was beginning to bloom. Something built on calm, on kindness, and most of all, on healing. And though love hadn't yet made its full entrance, something beautiful was unfolding, soft and steady like the morning sun. A month had passed, and life had slowly begun to bloom for Stella. Her mornings were no longer heavy with silence or fear. Every day, she experimented with the new meals in the tiny kitchen of the boys' quarters, her confidence growing with each sizzling pot. One bright afternoon, while helping Mrs. Daniels unload groceries from the car, the woman paused and called gently, "Stella, come sit with me for a minute." Stella wiped her hands on her dress and went inside with her and sat on the sofa beside her. Mrs. Daniels gave her a kind smile. "Do you know Francis said something sweet about you?" Stella blinked in surprise. "About me, ma?" "Yes," she nodded. "He told me how amazing your cooking is, and I agree. You have been a blessing in this house. Quiet, helpful, respectful. I have seen your heart, Stella. It's full of humanity and strength." Stella lowered her eyes shyly. "Thank you, ma." Mrs. Daniels took a breath and continued. "My cook traveled abroad with her family, and I've been praying for someone reliable to replace her. I believe that person is you." Stella's mouth fluttered in disbelief. Her hand flew to her chest. "Me, ma? You want me to be your cook?" Mrs. Daniels reached for her hand. "Yes, my dear. You have earned it." Tears welled up in Stella's eyes. "Ah, ma, thank you so much. Thank you. May God bless you, ma." "I don't even know what to say." "You don't need to say much," Mrs. Daniels said warmly. "You have shown yourself. This is your reward." Still trembling with joy, Stella wiped her tears quickly. "Can I tell you something, ma?" "Of course, my child. I've been looking for a way to save money. Not just for clothes or anything. I want to go back to school. I want to go to the university." Mrs. Daniels' face lit up. "You do?" "Yes, ma. I finished secondary school but couldn't go further because of family problems. But I love learning. I really want to go back." Without a word, Mrs. Daniels pulled her into a soft embrace. "I'm proud of you, Stella. That's a beautiful dream, and I'll support you however I can." That evening, as the sun began to lower behind the rooftops, casting a golden glow over the compound, Stella rushed into the boys' quarters, her slippers flapping with every excited step. "Francis! Francis!" she called out. He came out of the room startled. "What is it? Why are you shouting like that?" Stella grinned widely. "You won't believe what happened today." Francis raised a brow. "Try me." "Mrs. Daniels just asked me to become her new cook. She said she will start paying me monthly, and..." Her eyes sparkled. "I told her I want to go to the university, and she was so happy for me." Francis grabbed her by the waist and lifted her slightly. "Ah, that's my wife, my intelligent, unstoppable wife." Stella laughed, blushing. "Francis, stop." "No, let me say it. You have come far, Stella, from being pushed aside to standing tall, from being forgotten to being favored." She nodded, her smile gentle. "It feels unreal, but somehow it's all becoming real. And the best part," Francis leaned in. "Tell me, it's just the beginning," she said softly. Later that night, the two of them lay on the bed side by side, facing the ceiling. The fan turned lazily above them, the only sound in the stillness of the room. Stella turned her head slightly. "Francis." "Yes? Can I ask you something personal?" He turned toward her. "Always." She hesitated, then spoke softly. "Why haven't you, touched me since I came here?" Francis' eyes searched hers. He hadn't expected that. "I mean," she continued, "we are married. Another man might have claimed me the first night, but you never tried." Francis sat up, resting against the wall. "You're right. Many men would, but I'm not them." She listened quietly. "I didn't bring you here to take something from you. I brought you here to give, to protect, to heal what life tried to break." Stella's heart tightened as his words washed over her. "I see the shadows in your smile sometimes, Stella," he said gently. "You have carried hurt for so long. I want you to know, I'm not rushing you. When your heart is ready, when love, not fear, leads you, then I'll be ready too." Tears slid down her cheeks. "I know your father threw you away like you were nothing," Francis continued. "But to me, you're everything. You're not a burden. You are a blessing." Stella sat up and wiped her face. her hands trembling slightly. You really mean all this? Frances reached out and touched her cheek. With all my heart, I want our marriage to grow from love, not from pain. She gave a small teary smile. Thank you, Frances. You have shown me what it means to be safe. I never thought a man could make me feel like this. He leaned in and kissed her forehead softly. Sleep well, my queen. That night, Stella closed her eyes with a calm heart. Not just because she had a roof over her head, or because of a new job, but because she had found something deeper than comfort. She had found dignity, and for the first time in a long while, she truly believed she mattered. Just 2 days after Stella started working as a cook in the main house, something unusual happened. That morning, the sun was bright, and the scent of fresh vegetables filled the kitchen. Stella was busy preparing Mrs. Daniel's favorite vegetable soup. She had just finished washing and slicing the water leaves when the kitchen door creaked open behind her. She turned quickly and saw a tall, confident young man leaning casually against the door frame. It was David, Mrs. Daniel's only son. He stared at her for a moment, surprised, then flashed a slow smile. Wow, you're even more stunning than I imagined, he said with a grin. Mom mentioned you. Said you were respectful, quiet, and talented in the kitchen. I thought she was exaggerating, but now I see she was being modest. Stella froze for a moment, confused by the compliment. She glanced away quickly and focused on her pots. Good afternoon, sir, she said softly, trying to keep things formal. David chuckled and walked further into the kitchen. No need for the sir. Just call me David. I don't bite, he said with a wink. You know, you've got a rare kind of beauty. God must have taken extra care when making you. Stella's hands moved faster, her heart racing. She didn't like the way he was looking at her, like she was a dessert on display. She managed a small, polite smile but kept her eyes on her work. After a few flirtatious comments, David eventually left, still grinning. Stella exhaled deeply, feeling like she had just escaped something dangerous. That evening, back in the boys' quarters, Frances was seated on a bench outside, waiting for her. As soon as she arrived, he stood up and smiled. Welcome back, my queen. How was your day? Stella sat beside him, her smile faint. Frances, something happened today. He turned to her immediately, concern on his face. What is it? Did someone upset you? She hesitated for a second. Your boss son, David. He came into the kitchen. He said things that made me uncomfortable. He told me I'm beautiful and that I shouldn't call him Sarah. It didn't feel like a joke. Frances' face tightened. David? That guy talks a lot, but he's mostly harmless. But it wasn't just talk, Stella added, her tone serious. He looked at me in a way that made my skin crawl. Frances sighed and held her hand gently. I believe you, Stella. If he ever says or does anything out of line, tell me immediately. I will always protect you. Always. Stella nodded. Though her heart still felt uneasy, something in David's eyes had unsettled her, and that feeling didn't fade. A few days later, while preparing lunch, she felt it again. That eerie sensation that someone was watching her. She turned and saw David standing quietly by the door, his eyes fixed on her. He walked in, his steps slow and confident. You know, he said, leaning casually against the table, there is something special about you. I have been thinking. Why waste time? Let me be real with you. Stella looked at him confused. I don't understand. David moved closer. I like you. You are smart, beautiful, and I know you are different. I'm not here to waste your time. I want you. I can change your life. I will sponsor you. School abroad, anything you want. New phone, clothes, money. You will never lack again. Stella was stunned. Her hands froze mid-stir. He kept going. That security guy you're with, Frances. What's he doing for you? Nothing. Just say yes to me and I can make all your dreams come true. Or I can make sure he disappears. Stella stepped back, her voice steady, despite her racing heart. With all due respect, sir, I'm not interested. David's smile faltered out. What? I'm married. I love my husband, and I will not betray him. Not for money, not for gifts, not for anything. He stood by me when I had nothing. I will stand by him too. David scoffed. That's not a marriage. You deserve more than being tied to a broke man. I'm proud of him, she said firmly. He loves me, respects me, and believes in me. And I'd rather struggle with someone who loves me than be spoiled by someone who only wants to use me. David's expression darkened. You'll regret this, Stella. No, sir, she said boldly. If loyalty is a mistake, then I'll keep making it. David stared at her for a moment, jaw tight, then turned and stormed out of the kitchen without another word. Stella stood still, her tears rising and falling. Her hands trembled slightly, but her heart was steady. She had chosen her dignity and her husband, and no matter what storm David tried to bring her way, she was ready to face it, with Francis by her side. Later that evening, Stella returned quietly to the boys' quarters. Francis noticed the change in her immediately. My queen, he said gently. You're quiet. Is everything all right? She didn't answer right away. Her eyes were glassy, and when she finally looked at him, a tear slipped down her cheek. David came to me again, she said in a hushed voice. This time, he made bigger promises. School abroad, new clothes, a better life, but only if I agreed to be with him. Francis stood slowly, his jaw tightening. He even said he could pay you off, or tell his mother to sack you, just so he can take me for himself, she added bitterly. Rage burned in Francis' eyes, but when he looked at her face, his anger melted into something gentler. What did you tell him? He asked softly. I said no. I told him I'm not interested. I told him I believe in you, in us. I know one day God will bless you. Francis reached out and pulled her into a firm embrace. Thank you, Stella. Thank you for standing by me. Stella smiled through her tears. You stood by me first. Now it's my turn. That night, they held hands and prayed, hearts heavy but united in faith. The next morning, Stella woke up early, but her spirit was unsettled. She was tired of smiling when her heart was uneasy, tired of pretending everything was fine. David's words kept echoing in her mind. She had tried to ignore it, tried to carry the weight alone, but not anymore. With quiet determination, she walked to the main house and knocked softly. Mrs. Daniels opened the door, her usual warm smile on her face. Tell her, my daughter. Good morning. Hope you slept well. Good morning, ma, Stella said, eyes cast down. Mrs. Daniel noticed her mood and gestured her inside. What's the matter? You don't look yourself. Stella took a deep breath. Ma, I came to speak with you. Please don't be upset. Of course not, my dear. Speak your mind. Stella raised her head, voice calm but firm. It's about your son, David. He's been bothering me, saying things that make me very uncomfortable, promising me a better life if I agree to be with him. He even said he would pay Francis up or get him dismissed, just to get me. Mrs. Daniels blinked, clearly surprised. I respect you, ma. I respect this house, but I can't keep this to myself anymore. There was a long pause. Then Mrs. Daniel leaned back and folded her arms. You are a beautiful, smart girl, Stella, she said slowly. Maybe David just sees your potential. Maybe you should just consider giving him a chance. Stella's eyes widened. I'm not saying you should leave your husband, Mrs. Daniel added, her tone now serious. But think about it. We could give you the kind of life you only dream of. Even your husband could benefit. It's a win for everyone. Stella stood up slowly, her hands trembling. But her voice was strong. With all due respect, ma, I'm not that kind of woman. Mrs. Daniel was silent. I didn't marry Francis for money. I married him because when life threw me away, he picked me up and gave me dignity. My own father gave me away like I was nothing. Francis made me feel human again. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she pressed on. If this house doesn't respect my marriage, then I can't stay. I will not be somewhere I'm treated like an object. She turned and walked out, wiping her face as she made her way back. Her heart racing, but she felt lighter, free. As she stepped into the boys' quarters, her eyes landed on something that made her freeze. Bundles of cash sitting on the corner table. She gasped. "Francis, what's all this?" He rose from the bed, calm, his eyes warm. "Come, sit," he said gently. She walked over and sat, eyes still locked on the money. "Talk to me, Francis." He smiled faintly. "I've been saving this bit by bit for years. It's the seed for my business. The dream I have held since I came to the city. But today, after seeing the kind of woman you are, how you stood for us, I realized you deserve more." Stella's brows knitted in confusion. "What do you mean?" "I want you to use this money for your education. You have always wanted to go to the university. It's time." Stella shook her head immediately. "No, I'm serious," Francis said. "And so am I," she replied, standing. "This is your dream, your sweat. You wanted to build a business, Francis. Don't throw it away because of me." "I love you," he said softly. "And I love you too," she replied, her eyes filling again. "That's why I want us to be wise. Let's rent a small room somewhere else. Start your business. I'll support you. When things stabilize, I'll go to school, one step at a time." Francis looked at her like she was a miracle. "You want us to leave this house?" "Yes," Stella said firmly. "I don't want to stay here anymore. Not with people who see us as less than human. Let's start small, but let it be ours." He held her hand, speechless. Then, with tears in his eyes, he whispered, "Stella, you are everything I've ever prayed for." She smiled through her tears. "And you are the only man I want." They embraced, a quiet, powerful moment of love, not built on money, not on manipulation, but on trust. That night, they didn't say much. They lay in each other's arms, hearts full, so calm. As the moonlight spilled gently into the room, Stella whispered, "Our better days are coming." And Francis answered, "Yes, my queen. Step by step, we will get there together." The following morning, Francis was nowhere to be found. Stella had woken up early, cleaned the room, swept the compound, and made breakfast. But her mind wasn't settled. Her heart still carried the weight of yesterday's confrontation with Mrs. Daniels. The way David had behaved, the things his mother said, and her own decision to walk away from it all played over in her head like a song stuck on repeat. Just as she sat down to rest, a soft knock came at the door. She opened it and froze. Standing there were Mrs. Daniels and David. Stella didn't say a word. "Good morning, my daughter," Mrs. Daniels said gently. "Please, Stella," David added, his voice low and sincere. "We came to apologize." Stella stepped aside without a word and allowed them in. Mrs. Daniels sat. Her eyes filled with something softer than Stella had ever seen before. "We are truly sorry," she began, "for everything my son said to you, and for what I said to you. We were wrong." David looked down at the floor, ashamed. "I was arrogant. I didn't see clearly, but now I do. Francis is lucky, very lucky." Mrs. Daniel nodded slowly. "You are a rare kind of woman, Stella. Strong, principled, loyal. It's not every day one meets someone like you." Stella said nothing, just listened quietly, her heart slowly beginning to soften. "Yesterday, we called you our wife," Mrs. Daniels continued, "and we meant it. You are our wife." Stella managed a small smile. "Thank you, ma. I'm not angry anymore. I forgive you." Mrs. Daniels smiled wilder, stood up and gave her a warm hug. Then, looking her straight in the eyes, she added something strange. "You're my son's wife." Stella frowned slightly, confused. "Your son?" Mrs. Daniel only smiled. "Don't worry, my dear. You understand very soon." And with that, they left. Stella stood at the door long after they had gone, her mind spinning. What did she mean by that? That evening, Francis returned home. He looked exhausted, but there was brightness in his eyes. "Where have you been?" Stella asked, folding her arms. Francis held her hands gently. There is something I need to tell you. Stella narrowed her eyes. What now? He took a deep breath. I'm sorry for hiding the truth from you. Her expression changed. Truth? Frances, what truth? He led her to sit down. David is not just the landlady's son. He is my younger brother. And Mrs. Daniels, she's not my boss. She's my mother. Stella gasped and stood up quickly. What? Frances, you mean all this while? He nodded slowly. Yes, I'm sorry, my love. I didn't mean to deceive you forever. I've just been so hurt so many times. You men pretended to love me only because of my money. The moment I stopped spending, they left. I wanted to know if love could be real. If you could love me, not my wealth. Stella sat back down, still processing everything. You went too far, Frances, she said softly. You should have trusted me. I know, he replied, eyes full of regret. You have every right to be upset. Please, forgive me, my darling. There was silence for a while. Then Stella looked at him and smirked. Okay, I forgive you, but you owe me. He laughed, surprised. What do I owe you? You owe me a car and a mansion, she teased, for lying to me this whole time. Francis threw his head back laughing. My queen, that's nothing. Consider it done. They both laughed and Stella threw her arms around him. I love you so much, Francis. And I love you even more, Dr. Stella today. They hugged each other tightly. And when their lips met, it wasn't just a kiss, it was a promise. A kiss full of truth, freedom and everything real. No more lies, no more pretense. By morning, the whole street was buzzing. Francis, the humble security man, was in fact a billionaire in disguise. When Stella's father heard the shocking news that the poor laborer he hired to work in his farm was actually a billionaire, he nearly choked on the calabash of palm wine in his hand. His eyes widened. His face changed and he coughed uncontrollably. In panic and regret, he grabbed his phone and dialed Stella's number. My daughter, please forgive me, he said in a trembling voice. I was blind. I didn't know God had blessed you like this. Stella was silent for a moment. I want your stepbrother to come and stay with you in the city, he added quickly. Things are tough here, and Stella took a deep breath and answered firmly. With all due respect, sir, I forgive you, but I need to stay far away from you and your heartless wife. I finally found peace, and I suffered too much in that house. Her voice grew sharper. If it is something serious, you can call me, but don't disturb me with this nonsense. And please, take good care of your miserable wife. She ended the call and dropped the phone on the table. Then she looked up and whispered, Thank you, Jesus, for bringing Francis into my life. Years passed. Stella, now wearing a white doctor's coat, walked across the graduation stage into thunderous applause. She had officially become a certified medical doctor. In the crowd, Francis was the loudest of them all, shouting with pride, That's my wife! After the ceremony, he wrapped her in a tight hug. I'm so proud of you, baby. You're mine forever. Thank you for believing in me, she whispered. For everything. You're the best husband anyone could ask for. And you, he said, smiling, are my forever queen. One sunny afternoon, Francis invited her on a quiet drive. They cruised through the serene neighborhood, bird chirping and the wind gentle. Soon, they entered a gated estate and stopped in front of a stunning white mansion with golden gates. Stella looked around confused. Why are we here? Francis stepped out and opened her door with a proud grin. Then he pulled out a bunch of keys. This is your mansion, my queen. Stella screamed, holding her face in disbelief. Francis, are you serious? I promised you a car and a mansion. Here they are. She threw her arms around him, laughing and crying all at once. Then she stepped back with a secret smile. I have news too. What is it? He asked, curious. I went for a test last week, she said, her eyes sparkling. I'm 3 months pregnant. Francis froze. Stella, are you serious? She nodded, tears of joy forming in her eyes. We're going to have a baby. With a shout of joy, he lifted her into the air and spun her around. God, Thank you. I'll spoil you and our baby forever. Then he knelt down, gently kissed her stomach and whispered, "My baby, Daddy loves you already." Stella smiled, tears running freely down her cheeks. From rejection to royalty, from pain to peace, her story had changed forever. She looked up and said softly, "God is good." Thank you for watching, my amazing people. If you didn't smile, cry or shout God when, at least once during this story, were you even watching? Now tell me, what did you learn from Stella's journey? Was it her strengths or how life can surprise us when we least expect it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I love reading your opinions and reflections. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more powerful and emotional stories like this. Turn on your notification bell so you won't miss the next amazing episode. Once again, thank you for being here. See you in the next story. And remember, true love may be disguised as a gate man,